That's right. And we have four really incredible poets tonight, local from San Francisco. They give them a round of applause for just being affordable to live here for those four poets. Poets don't make too much. They're going to be reading some of their favorite poems from their most recent books. Give our poets a round of applause. Even though you haven't met him, you'll meet him a little bit later. But most importantly, he's the man. Give a huge round of applause for Eric and Burden Beckett. You know, we talk a lot about community, but Eric gets community, really does. I don't know how many have been here before. You've been here, so you've probably heard some of the jazz nights that they have here. They got jazz here, they got poetry, and when they're in big trouble, they even get a little bit of magic over here too. But yeah, he kind of walks the walk, that guy right over there. So you know what? Tonight, you know, we need to kind of support Eric a little bit. He's doing all this for artists and community. So at the end of the night, I know it's kind of crowded, but check out some of these books. He's got some incredible books here, and check them out. And make sure maybe you buy a few poetry books, especially from that one over there, because business is kind of slow right now. All righty. Actually, could be one of the best bookstores in all of Glen Park. Well, no, not just Glen Park, and parts of Noe Valley as well, I would think too. And you know, you look around, I just feel so good just to be surrounded by all these books. You know, hardbound, paperback, fiction, he's got every single book in the world except for one book. And you know what that book is? My book. That's right, Magic Dan's Hot Secrets. 40 years of doing magic, and tonight I'm going to reveal maybe a few of my secrets tonight. Oh! Don't tell Eric. Okay, very good. It is a little warm in here. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's good. I'm glad that he missed that. All righty. Throw me right out. He's looking. He's thinking about it. You know what? And plus, how wonderful it is to see everybody in person, live, alive and alive. We'll take them both, absolutely. I know the pandemic was hard on everybody. For a magician like me, yeah, I had to do some magic shows on Zoom, and I did go crazy, I'll have to admit. And then I made a good move. I hired my partner in crime in all matters. I hired Angie to assist me doing magic on Zoom, and then we both went crazy. That's right. All right. But the only good thing that came out of it was I did learn one trick using my mask, because you always got to carry your mask, and I see some people are very careful, and it's a good idea. But I'll show you this. You go 1, 2, 3, and then I take the mask, and I'm going to put it in this hand here. Can you see from back there? Hopefully not. The less you can see and the more you can drink, the better this will look. All right, so it's going into this hand. You can see it. It's in this hand. Now I'm going to push it in there deeper. 1, 2, 3. Is it in this hand or this hand? How many say this hand? Yeah. How many say this hand? Yeah. Really, John? No, it's right here. Now, tell you what, this time I haven't done anything. I have not done one thing. I'm going to put it inside here. Now, watch carefully. I'm going to put it inside here. It's going to go deep into the hand. And this time, though, I'm going to need your help. We need some magic words. And I thought tonight the magic words are going to be from the poet laureate, James Brown. That's right. These 3 words, maybe a little shake, just say, I feel good. Watch. I feel good. And let's see if I can do this. Here it is. Gone. Now, that's scary. I know, that's some scary shit right there. Now, if you want it to come back, all I need to do is just to reach in the air, grab a little hair from Eric. Thank you, Eric. Blow on it. Reach inside here. And there, my friends, is the vanishing and reappearing mask. Just like that. Very good. All right. Now, for the grand finale, or as most people are thinking, the grand finally, I'm going to do one last trick. And I'll tell you what, I need a victim. Or a volunteer, excuse me. I need someone who I don't know, who I've never met before. I know someone. And then raise your hand if you've never seen me before, never met me, never wanted to meet me. And also, raise your hand if you could tell me how many cards in a deck of cards I have to do. I'll get kicked out of the International Brotherhood of Magicians unless I do one card trick. If you ask a magician to do one card trick, look out, he'll show you 50. But right now, raise your hand if you've never... Jake, you're my son, I can't call him any. I need someone I've never met before. Let me see.
Young one over here.
What is your name?
Allison.
Wait. How many cards in the deck of cards,
I
Allison?
thought you'd never asked.
How many cards in the deck of cards?
52.
Oh, she knows.
Give her a big round. This is Allison. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see that big smile, Allison.
Yeah.
That'll work. Okay, very good. Allison, so a little tight squeeze. I'm going to move this right over here a little bit. And first of all, we have never met. Is that true? We did.
No, we've never
We've
met.
never met. This is good. Because I did
I've
rehearse.
seen pictures of you, though.
Oh, okay. Right over here. Allison's a frisky one. We're going to have to be... Allison, we're going to do a little trick. We've never met, though, because I did rehearse with... It would be a lot easier if it was the person... I did talk with someone about doing this trick, and I couldn't find him in the dark, so I'm calling on you, Allison.
Oh,
But Allison,
man, that makes me feel great.
I'm going to use a big deck of cards because we're all getting older, Allison, face it. I leave the deck right over here. I'm not going to touch the deck. I'm going to leave it right down there. Do you know what's in my pocket, Allison? It's an invisible deck of cards. Hold out your hand like this. Get ready to catch the invisible deck. It's going to be really easy. Do you know why, Allison?
No.
Because it's invisible. Okay, very good. 1, 2, 3. Catch that, Allison.
Whoa, she caught it.
Thank you. Open up your hand. Open up your hand. I'm going to take the case. I'm going to put it in this pocket. This pocket. Which pocket? This one. You have 52 cards. You need your other hand. Shuffle the deck up, Allison. Give it a good shuffle. You know how to shuffle a deck. I've never seen shuffling like that before. Allison, slow down. I'm getting dizzy. Cut the deck over one time. Give it a cut. Fan the deck so everybody can see it. Make sure doubting Martin can see it. He's a doubter. He's always doubted me. Allison, I'm going to hold on to this side. You hold on to this side. Put this hand by your side. We're a team. Relax, Allison. With your free card, with your free hand, pick one of the 52 cards. Pick a card. Look at it. I will not look. Show it to everybody. Show it to the doubters. Show it to my friend Craig over there. He's doubting. Put the card back in the deck now, Allison. Take my side of the deck. Hand me the deck. And hand me the whole deck. Let's review. Did you shuffle?
Yes.
Did you cut?
Yes.
Did you fan?
Yes.
Did you choose a card?
Yes.
Have we ever met before?
No.
It's my wife. Careful. Let me ask you a question. And is it invisible?
Yes.
For the first time, I'm going to pick up the big deck, Allison. I'm going to put it inside the big deck. Now I'm going to go like this. You know I'm going to go like this, Allison?
No.
Me neither. I just feel like going like that, Allison. When I snap my fingers, name the card you were merely thinking of. 1, 2, 3. I will not help you. Shout it out. What was your card?
Ace of spades.
You know, 96% of all people pick that ace of spades. I'm tired of that ace of spades. I'll tell you what, Allison, I'm going to give you an out. You can keep the ace of spades and be like everybody else, or do you want to pick a more unusual card?
The latter.
More unusual.
Yeah.
Then we got to do it all over again. 1, 2, 3. Name your more unusual card.
2 of clubs.
That is really unusual. What did she say, everybody? 2 of clubs. I'm going to open it up for the very first time and put the case down right here. Can everybody see the cards? That's why I'm using big ones. Yeah. Look, Allison. Is that a 2 of clubs?
No.
Is that a 2 of clubs? Take a good look. Take a good look. 3 of clubs. Let's take a look. No 2 of clubs in the deck. Allison, you said 2 of clubs. Is that right? Allison, there's 1 card facing down in the deck. 51 face up. Scary. If that is a 2 of clubs, don't pass out, Allison. It's crowd in here. You look at that card first, Allison. You look at it. You show it to him. Big round of applause. Great job. See you later at the house there. No, I never met her before. Now, I know what you're thinking. For those of you who can see, I know what you're thinking. That was great, but this will always be a little greater. All right. Well, that's the entertainment. Now we get really serious. We got some wonderful poets, and I'm honored to be able to read. Let's see. Kevin Dublin. Yay. Coming up, Kevin. I'm just going to read you the intro, Kevin. All righty. This is Kevin. Good to meet you, Kevin.
Gonna make me disappear.
Kevin. Everybody with the jokes. Okay. Everybody's a comedian. I'm a professional. Kevin Dublin is the founder of the Living Room San Francisco, and he's focused on expanding economic accessibility to creative writing. He's a writer of poetry, prose, scripts, and code, and is the program director, Lithquake Elder Writing Project. Sound like a good man, Kevin. Kevin is the author of chapbooks How to Fall in Love in San Diego and Eulogy. He resides in San Francisco, I love this, and believes in you and our collective power to change the world. Bring it down, Kevin.
Hi. Y'all are fantastic. You're gonna make this so easy. I had all these grand plans. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read the whole long poem of Eulogy. Then I was like, no, and I'm gonna bring my harmonica, and I'm gonna play the beginning of a Hank Williams song, and then I said, no, actually, I'm gonna just do completely different, like newer poems that are in conversation with that poem. But I then decided to go back. It's like, oh, actually. And I don't have my harmonica, so you will not have to suffer through the first verse of Hank Williams. I'm so lonesome I could cry. So just imagine it, and it'll be better than it would have been if I had played it. This is Eulogy. Thank you, Robin. Of Robin Michel of just like amazing poetry, but also of fantastic and amazing heart, and of Raven and Wren Press for just like publishing and bringing this book into the world. This is a poem that is for my father who passed in I was like, I should tell a story about him. So this will be quick. This poem is a conversation in part that I almost had with him. There was like such grand opportunity for this conversation. This was my like freshman year in college. I'm going back home. The grass, it's like, I don't know, like 5 something. The grass has not been cut. And I was like, oh, I'm going to cut the grass for him. But he changed the lock on the lawnmower. And, he was born in 1941 in Smithfield, North Carolina. And so he saw a lot. He endured a lot. And I heard a lot of stories which he would tell to, his, to friends, and that he would, reminisce with, about. And so I tell him I'd taken this class. It was a history class. It was American history, like 1865 to the present, so Reconstruction era, and we're examining the country of America through the lens of the question, what is it to be American? And it's just like, well, what does that mean? And I go to him, and I'm there, and I'm unlocking he's giving me the key to unlock the lawnmower, and I go, I think I finally understand. I don't completely understand, but I at least am beginning to understand. And he just kind of looks at me, and I'm like, you had to just like endure so much. I understand why, just in terms of like how you express things. And I just want you to know, I love you and thank you. And he goes, better cut that grass before it get dark. Like that was, I was like, hey, and so this is for big love. Sylvester Williams, Dublin. It's eulogy. We begin as a story and end as another story. Like catfish who emerge from ice in winter for a bite of nightcrawler bait and become a meal. I feed my father his last full supper as he watches TV, and I think, how many hours of my childhood must have been as silent as his, watching John Wayne or Lucas McCain as they lay down and outlaw the same way they had in his young eyes decades before. He blinks. Through the course of our lives, humans shed 40 pounds or more of skin. And today, with his sickness, it's like he's lost it all at once. A cough and spittle remind me of Ecclesiastes. There is a time for Stetson fedoras, for Kangol caps, a time to be bald and know the breeze, to laugh, to lean against car door and ask, how will I approach dying and how? Like the clang of pots being put back in the cabinets, a salmon swims to a birthplace to spawn and expire as a wave ends its time as a wave to be ocean again. That means the cardinal bobbing at the fruit of the dogwood tree is only hunger. The siren flaring its wings in the distance is only death. If I had one wish for my father's body at the end, it would have been not to see it frown. If I had two wishes, it would have been to send his body into the earth with a hat. He had style. To him, time was precious. He ain't play games. He quit school because recess was too long. Time was being born 5 months before Emmett Till and living to the same South that slaughtered him. Time was survival, apples ripening through the last frost. A cold wind blows over question, a son asking to attend kindergarten before his mother said, "Child, no," on a North Carolina porch while flesh drips from the bones of a woman screaming in Hiroshima. Time was childhood eyes watching a favorite auntie be strangled like a pushed-over semicolon by an uncle who escapes the state as if he were water between cupped hands. Time was helping another uncle in the fields, cousins out there, peanut butter sandwiches without water, and another uncle lynched in a tree on the same road as church. Time was 7-foot fishing rod, strong line, a sinker, and a live worm wriggling on the end, sending ripples across pond. White-tailed deer tails still as she nibbles acorns from the ground. Time was reeling it in, was the blurry fur at the end of iron sights, traces of scale spill and sound of skillet sizzle in the evening. Cricket chirps bounce outside the door as doe skin falls to the floor. Time was migration, making way in a station wagon up several states to the projects up north to save. Time was being called nigger less often than a living wage. Time was muzzle of tanks, main gun scraping street lamp on the corner with screech and flicker, spark and lean. Road shadowed like an asphalt meadow under racing overcast. Time was night with street lightning and steel thunder. Blood whimpers, curdles out of a black boy's face as he's lifted from the concrete, blinking. White cameras flash. Time was you couldn't tell if eyes were slowly closing because the moonlight was so bright or consciousness was gone. Time was silent crickets burrowing into the ground. Time was cheap curtains for the clothes for the pickled gossip of aunties, was lost wages, a dinner table on a long hot summer, empty like a lotus blossom opening with no buds. Time was houses for sale and translucent refusals, not enough credit, no colors, or we can't sell to you. Gray fox, damp and hungry, watches ducks fly away. Time was not meant to be spent on the invisible, not math or poetry, not God, not the wind. Time was mouths to feed. Time was grandparents not being able to legally read. Time was a broom from one end of school halls to the other. Time was dust unsettled in the light of highway patrol station window. Time was lifting a city's trash into garbage trucks as Medgar Evers was assassinated, as John F. Kennedy was assassinated, as Fred Hampton. Time was selling the shoes from feet to feed brothers when father vanished. Mother was in the hospital, sick. Gratitude left like white dew glistening in dawn's lick. Time was the back and forth from Smithfield to Chapel Hill, to the medical center, Shirley Caesar playing I Remember Mama in a Happy Way. Tom was memory of youngest brother's introduction, asking him to ask a classmate, does she love me with all her heart? Should I worry when we're apart? It's a lover's question. Tom was head nod, a hand slapping the other. The cake is baked. Tom was marriage, 35 years till infinity. Tom was prognosis, husband shoulder heavy under tightening hand. Tom was insurance, decades of payments and 2 names evaporating. Tom was, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Tom was being born the same year as Otis Redding, posing at one of his final concerts in the Chitlin circuit in the same year he outlived him. Tom was, he wear a 2-piece suit, clean shaven, and ladies would think he was the Big O. Dancing to shake as evening cicadas sang back up. Tom was running from trucks who think you gave the wrong kind of eye to a white woman. Tom was a muddy ditch and skinned knees near infection. Tom was thinking back to the boys in the truck, his uncle a warning. Young, swaying in suns dim, my truth, I'm only alive today because they didn't catch him. Tom was, it make him empty a bottle. Corn liquor, the darkest whiskeys, and moonshine that once glistened in the same light as Percy Flowers' mash. Time was tourmaline, aquamarine, fire opals made jewelry above him. Time was the vapors from sewage drains at 7 a.m. and the walk through them after a long night of mop in Newark, New Jersey. Time with 22 hands of tunk on a Saturday afternoon, up $4 in nickels, one from Mr. Mac. Drop that jack of spades on his spread and go out on covering a tin. Tom was driving blind Cuban neighbors to doctor's appointments. Tom was, even when there was little gas in the tank, Tom was vintage nudie projector wheels. Film shifts to fire after ash flick. Time was exhale of pale-male smoke upward toward ceiling fan, and dispersed in the blade's wake, cigar, toke, never inhaled, hugging the walls, the furniture straddling each visitor's back. Tom was hitting straight the last 3 digits of a license plate. Walmart, a call to his children, giving winnings away. A grandchild's cheek grazed with sugar and stubble. Tom was a drive to Virginia's border and Emporia for Powerball tickets, but Saturday comes again and can't kill nothing and won't nothing die. Tom was ironing 5 collared shirts and slacks on Sunday evenings to a Bonanza marathon on TV. Time was a phone call, a how you doing, a kicking but not too high. Tom was the first stroke, was 9 children. Tom was meeting 24 grandchildren, the second stroke, and 19 great-grandchildren, third stroke. Time, again, was survival. Tom was, watch where you put that hand. I know what you've been doing. I can tell by the little hair that's growing in your palm. And when you open 5 fingers, see? That's the one you use. Time was the distance between rocking chairs on 202 Collier to 903 East Lizzie to 609 Tower Street. Time was camellias bloom as the land freezes past afternoon. Time was diamond in the back, sun rooftop, digging the scene with a gangster lean. Down Brightleaf Boulevard towards Rose Street was another white rocking chair and Mr. Lyle's laughter, the color of daffodil trumpets. Time was third Sunday morning, like, if I were you, I would say yes. And Suge Avery pleading, speak, Lord, speak to me, on repeat instead of church. Time was knowing sinners have a soul too, like silence interrupted by, hear that lonesome whippoorwill. He sounds too blue to fly. I remember the wrapping of a tourniquet like any gift, cloth cinch rubbing while tugged tight, glass scratch sliding across linoleum under crunch of shoe. I remember a fist clenching as worms surface in the rain. Heavy droplets splatter into puddles like bubble wrap pops, groan of dining room table as it's chair as it's pulled out. I remember whisk of his hand moving towards pistol. In this distance, wild geese trot and lift off, run with the knowledge of the end of Marvin Gaye. I remember the dry underside of a truck's towed trailer, roll of tire, shoulder splash, sonic entanglement with belt buckle jingle, leather on leather snap. Whoa, mercy, mercy me. Oh, things ain't what they used to be. No, no. I remember mislingering above the road at dawn. I remember searching for how long is long enough to be in a city of hills like mounds of fireflies all lit up at once. Mercy, oceanic like being washed ashore after drowning. Time was opportunity to return, to make mistakes. I never proved I could write a poem and read it to him, but I learned that hearing is the last sense the body loses, which is why, after feeding, I turned off the TV, played music, and now, over the grunts of beetles and rackets of calm, I'm so glad. I say that I'm so glad. I know the trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, I want to know what shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? Thank you.
Wow. Kevin Dublin, one more time. Our next fabulous poet, Robin Michel. It's your time. All right. Robin Michel is the founder of Raven and Wren Press and a poet, writer, teacher, and communications consultant for nonprofits K through 12. This is all true. And community college districts. Her poetry has appeared or is forthcoming in Cloudbank, Comstack Review, The MacGuffin, Sisyphus, Third Wednesday, and elsewhere. Robin lives in the inner Sunset with her husband, Dan Humphrey, where they enjoy sharing their love of literature, art, music, and history with their brilliant grandchildren and other young people, eating wild raspberries and non-violently negotiating with the raccoons who raid the worm compost.
So is this? Yeah. How do you do that? Thank you. Okay. Well, while you do that, I'm just going to say, Bo reminded me to remind all of you that Kevin's book is for sale here, and Eric will benefit a little bit. Thank you. I have to say that there's a little story I wasn't planning to tell about Kevin's book, Eulogy, but like many of us, I have an incomplete novel that was just kind of wasting away in my computer. And one day I was looking for it, and I knew that it had Gunsmoke in the title. And a poem that Kevin shared with me came up instead. And that began all of that. So he's also included a QR code so that you can download a playlist that he's put together for his father. And it's just amazing. It's fantastic. So it's really wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So my forthcoming book is called Beneath the Strawberry Night Sky. And I wrote the poems in the book for the same reason I write all poetry, which is to understand. My first husband and I were babies when we met, married, and became parents. Earlier versions of the poems in the book were, with the exception of two, were written during the second half of the marriage, during the separation, the divorce. And compiling them into a collection is my way of honoring what we had, grieving its loss, and finding forgiveness. Babies. We were babies. Prologue. 3 nights. 1. I wake from the dream, weeping. You hold me close. What is it? I couldn't marry you. We talk. No, I talk, you listen. Until exhausted, we both fall into a troubled sleep, broken once again when the newspaper skids across our porch. 2. Your silence startles me awake. I listen for your ragged breathing. Hearing nothing, I lean into your chest, comforted by its rise and fall. The blackout shade shuts out the moon's soft light. If I slept alone, the curtain would never be drawn. 3. I dream of my ex-husband. We are still married, still miserable. Waking, I kiss your sleeping cheek. Bereft, consoled, confused. The invasive nature of ivy. Like trying to find a secret key or treasure chest in a children's puzzle book, we looked hard to see patches of scarlet fiberglass between the ivy's dark leaves. The canoe was free with a camper purchase, and you unceremoniously tipped it upside down in a far corner of our backyard under the loquat tree. Upside down to prevent the kids from climbing aboard and sailing on pretend seas to battle pirates or visit distant lands. How many times did I suggest we take the children and our canoe, or was it yours, on the lake before I stopped asking? It never occurred to me to go it alone. In those days, I didn't drive freeways or even know how to pump my own gas, a wasted asset. Ivy is invasive, aggressive, and smothering. I've learned its old names, bindwood and lovestone. The ivy grew as quick as my resentments, wrapping its tendrils around the boat, climbing up the tree's trunk, its heart leaves mingling with the tree's phallic-shaped leaves and golden globes of fruit. 22 years now since our divorce. I still remember the first time we made love. Now, I remember how we sat at a table with our attorneys, dividing up our shared property, our shared life, and I asked you for the canoe. You refused. Is it still tipped upside down beneath the loquat tree, strangled in ivy? Without a net. In this dark house, I find myself thinking of bright lights and circuses, how I artfully arrange my face each morning, paint on a smile, act a clown. How some days I must tame the lions, trembling with a fake bravado. How I walk down this path between what I possess and what I desire, like a tightrope walker maintaining a graceless balance, as part of me watches from the stands, a spectator holding her breath, and I fall without a net.
Sorry, I can only call one person at a time.
It's okay, I can only read one poem at a time, and then sometimes not so well. Let's see. In our marriage bed, when first we fought, it seemed as if our mattress grew too small to hold our growing bodies. Squirming to avoid one another, a leg, thigh, arm, or shoulder would accidentally touch, and we would move away, offended. This same double bed has now moved with us from apartment to apartment, house to house. We often talked about buying a new bed, debating queen or king, firm mattress, pillow top, or coil, postponing this purchase for more important things, a crib, children's bicycles, a reliable car, braces. These nights we no longer fight. Our bed has grown to accommodate our changing bodies. It could now contain an entire world between us. We sleep with no bridge between. We are not at war. We are not at peace. We remain neutral, keep our positions to ourselves. Having learned to coexist, we are indifferent. Our people do not visit one another, exchange customs, or take back souvenirs. Our bodies never touch. Young girl lost on the overpass. A voice is crying inside her body, hopeless, dissonant, frightened, angry. A solitary voice shouting out a whisper, pushing everyone away. She wanders at 2 a.m. the overpass alone, save for the roaring voice clamoring inside, its discordant song louder than the swell of traffic whizzing by down below. A thin girl dressed in flannel pajamas, empty pockets, and a man's black hoodie. She wanders not far from her childhood home, a lost waif on the way to nowhere. She does not see the round white moon glowing in the black sky or the glorious stars in this galaxy from which she feels an outcast. She does not notice her mother's car slowing down, the beauty pulsing inside her pain, or the celestial pinpricks of light shining from above. And years from now, her life, her mother's life, none of their lives will be the same lives they carry now, thanks to the voice inside her body refusing to stay silent, its razor cuts. Factors and exponents. I sat at the table with our children, doing homework, as you walked past, popping the top of your beer can. Cringing at the sound, I waited for your anger to surface like empty, useless foam as you made your exodus into the garage. Our son gripped his pencil in unskilled fist, scratching out prime factors and exponents. Our daughter buried her head deep in a book on DNA as we struggled to understand. I expected the blare of stereo to signal your cool retreat as you gathered intense white heat to once again approach, attack. Instead, the plaintive notes of a guitar, too long ignored, slid beneath the closed kitchen door, and your voice floats in, brighter than the tiny sliver of light it cuts through, filling the room with ghosts. I remember fragments of dreams. Someone I love has died and now returns. In these dreams, I am cautious. I thought you were dead. Oh no, it was all a mistake. I am radiant in the resurrection. Your voice, so long absent, is like one of these dreams. Its honey spreads out and fills the kitchen. This is the way I always imagined it, the warm womb of a bright kitchen, you filling our house with song, me writing poetry, our children holding their pencils in relaxed hands, reading aloud, asking questions, expressing ideas. Safe. At a rest stop between Butte and Missoula. If I pulled off to the side of the road and gave birth to you at this rest stop, or crawled deeper than your flesh was then lodged within my body, like an animal crawling deep into your beloved woods, to crouch low beneath branches sheltering us from fluorescent lights and masked doctors, and then licked you clean, my tongue tasting your birth's blood, one thing would remain the same. I would have loved you as fiercely as I did in the hospital where you were born, but only half as much as I do now. A boy living in the suburbs, you dream of roaming wild and catching fish in flowing streams with your bare hands or between your teeth. From books, you have learned the names and origins of living things, insects and trees, lizards and frogs, plants poisonous and safe, bitterroot, huckleberry, beargrass. Now you point out plants and fish to me, and I listen to you speak as the wind swirls between us in this Montana rest stop so far from the sterile hospital where you were born. With each incantation, cutthroat, whitefish, grayling, I am stirred by something primal, deep, knowing. I pay witness to your life, you to mine. Soon it will be time to go. At the psychiatrist's office, through an open door, while seated in a waiting room chair, I glimpse a partially hidden view of starry night. Magically, its thick eclipse exposes yellow sun and moon, inky blues now streaking across canvas, once the color of clinical white walls. It's only a print, one of many Van Gogh reproductions stacked in bins in shopping malls across the country, thumbtacked on dorm walls, or framed in the homes of aspiring corporate types, doctors' offices, or here, in the waiting room of my teenage daughter's psychiatrist. Printed posters everywhere, easy to overlook or dismiss in the rush of ubiquitous overload. Not unlike breathing, forgotten until one forgets to breathe. Look again. Thick, broad brushstrokes, simple until one notes the swirling complexity, the giant fingerprints of God, the bold genius of color gone mad. This brief glimpse of a starry night escaping through an open door that will soon close to swallow my daughter and her secrets. It bruises my mother heart with new tenderness. I think of my daughter's sad, lovely eyes peering through her camera's view, if only for a tiny starlit flicker before the dark of night descends and we wait for a new constellation to appear. And I'll end with epilogue. Like festival days. And festivals are as sunlit peaks, testifying above dark valleys to the eternal radiance. Clement A. Miles. I wash the strawberries and marvel at their beauty, red and shaped, not unlike the human heart. Like festival days, only a few are blemished, the rest rich and full. I will leave stems attached, green a striking contrast against red. I will lovingly arrange them on a bone-white plate and place them on the table before our children. Perhaps you will drop in and visit, once again a friend. All of us will eat with pleasure. Thank you.
Wonderful. Another round of applause for Robin Michel. Thank you, Robin. Easier this way, Heather. All right. Let me know if this is good. Heather Saunders Estes lives with her husband, daughter, and family friend in the Golden Gate Heights area of San Francisco, pretty close by. All right. She started writing intensely after stepping down 6 years ago from being the CEO at Planned Parenthood, Northern California. We salute your service. All in Measure, A Book of Hours, 2020 to 2023 is her third book, just published in January 2023 by Blue Light Press. It explores living a cloistered life with the three others in her household during the pandemic. It is inspired by medieval books of hours and share a common core of praise and valuing the diversity of life in the universe. Other poetry books by Heather are Inner Sunset in 2019 by Blue Light Press, and Cloudbreak in 2021 by Poetic Matrix Press. All the books are right here for you guys to purchase too. Heather, all yours.
Thanks, Andy.
Hi, I want to take another moment to talk about community. I really want you to know, if you haven't seen this little note here, that 3 of us reading today are in the same poetry group. And the 4th person, Holly, is here. So we have 4 of us, 4 of 5 in our poetry group, who's been together for 6+ years. And community makes a difference. And with Eric and bookstores like this and people like you, we can make a difference. As Margaret Mead said, it's only small groups of people can make a difference. In fact, that's only
better.
That's only better. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has made a difference in the world. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for supporting us and for the pleasure of our being together. I want to do many of my poetry is of has small topics. They get bigger, but poems of place and poems of things that I see and feel. They're sort of so I'm going to start out with some that are local. For those of you who live around here and know the area, I like to figure out what I want to read based upon what it feels in the room. So Angie is going to help me when I'm running out of time because I like to improvise here. Glen Canyon Park. The narrow stream, Islay Creek, is nearly lost underneath tangles of brambles, willows, and wild cherries. Only shadows where there might be water, fluttering rays of light pick out a robin or junco picking at berries. Dragonflies zoom and vanish. The grind of traffic disappears at the bottom of the steep valley. Above my head, eucalyptus trees climb the sides of the ravine, shedding their bark in gray-green strips, covering the soft dirt under my feet with fragrant leaf litter. Calls of sparrows, bush tits, towhees interweave in midday groves. My fears of dwindling wildlife are briefly allayed. Massive logs in breaks along the trail lie in patches of hot sun and mixed shade. Years of blue jeans before me have rubbed the best seats smooth. Two kids and their dad pass by, each carrying sticks like swords. In distant glades, I hear children laughing. A sign tells me that coyotes den their pups in hidden corners under rocky outcroppings. Late dusk, their songs echo off the slopes, clearly heard in houses along the rim. No street lights and a few urban stars reach down. The night drops and pools in the canyon like dark water. I'm going to read a couple from each my book. It was so much fun for me to go back through them and look through them and think about them. I love some of these poems, which of course makes sense since I wrote them. I hope you'll enjoy some of them too. Another one for people who live here in San Francisco. Headlamps, sex, and bravura. A long expanse of burnt aluminum sand, tan cinders with reflected sky, blue slate ocean to the horizon. For surfers, perfect waves today, glass rollers with knife-edge curls. The breaking surf runs inland to ripples of miniature sand dunes, incised by plover hieroglyphs, erratic camels abandoned in a desert. The afternoon light is beginning to contemplate sunset. Seal heads of surfers bob in the waves, their wetsuits black and shining. Frozen sand, the concrete wall, the constantly eroding great highway. Hidden beneath and under that edge, unseen by drivers or walkers, now touched by the first rays of sunset, are words, huge and emphatic. Fuchsia, red, black, dayglow, spray-painted strokes. Fuck! The night survives. Resist! Ralph was here. After images remain like sunspots, hissing cans, headlamps, sex, and bravura. I spent a lot of time when I stepped down from being the Planned Parenthood CEO. I thought of it as being as hibernating, which then rolled right into the pandemic when I really did hibernate. Hence a whole book about hibernating. Another one about, where are we here? I'm getting there. Whispers. So in my garden. Tiny insects. Air made visible. Dust motes of down, spring, and sex on slow swirl in the sunlight. Without a whisper, light so softly on my hand, minute glass wings a lazy flutter. Tiny faces and delicate forms, drawn in finest India ink. Clouds of air plankton, abundant and certain. This book is a bit more about my decision to leave work after 37 years. I loved my work. Sometimes there comes a time when it's time to do something else, and I wanted to go forward to doing some art and paying some quiet time. Elegy for a Chief Executive Officer. The letter of resignation is on the desk. Sparks escape, only I can see. Music by 2 steps from hell. Burning sage scents the air. Who will I be when I am not a crusader, not a good or evil fairy? Who will I be when each late night call doesn't conjure break-ins, firebombs, gunmen? After 37 years as a Planned Parenthood CEO, I choose to become born again. Spelunker, gardener, weaver, writer, wiser inhabitant of my new chapter. Monsters still exist to be slain or tamed, golden rings to be unmade or explained. I was a culture warrior. I came home alive. One thing that happened this overlapped with the beginning of the pandemic, and this was before we knew what was happening. Afternoon sleep. I am waiting for the sun, for time to pass, waiting for my daughter to get better, to pass beyond pneumonia coughing fits, waiting for light to return to her eyes. She lies still on the sofa, barely shallow breathing, her chest weighted down by the blue hot water bottle. Motionless lidded eyes. She is an effigy on the sandstone couch. Shadows slide down her face, familiar as my own. When will she die? Someday. The wind in Monterey cypress boughs is the sighing of constant river rapids. A black starling flock swirls away against the ash-gray congestion of sky. She's still dealing with long COVID from the beginning of so we remember, but, she's getting better. And where's the one I wanted to read about that? Stitching our family together. So there's 4 of us still living in our house. during the pandemic, and all of us were working out of our computers or not working or writing. Or my husband's a writer, my daughter's a writer. My daughter was ill, and our friend is also involved in spending a lot of time on computers. So the four of us did a lot of stuff together. And here's one of the things we did together: stitching our family together. My mom, sewed cotton shirts and shifts and my turquoise linen wedding dress. I created patchwork story quilts. She always begged me to help her thread the needle on the ancient Faithful Singer. Last time I followed a sewing pattern was 49 years ago. I have a new machine now, all digital. My daughter designs dancing skirts for friends. I cut rectangles for masks from fabric with pink elephants. Even with 2 pairs of reading glasses, one on top of another, lights turned up, I can barely see the needle's eye. I call my daughter. We sew masks with stars and strawberries, black squares for her friend, blue fish for her dad. I am vindicated for hoarding old sheets, t-shirts, ribbons, bandanas. We clothe their faces and manage their fates. Thank you. I'm just trying to see how much more time do I have? 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to read the one I like reading so much. I've become quite friends with a lot of the creatures in my neighborhood. We live right near the park, so there are poems in here about coyotes and lots about hummingbirds. Started feeding the hummingbirds on the day when the sky turned orange, and the hummingbirds were kind of going, because none of the flowers had opened. I decided it was time for me to. So anyway, there's a lot of them. And here's some other people I've gotten used to. This is called Border Skirmishes. You perch at your ease in my garden, balancing your soft rump on a frail branch, long tail swinging or curled for support. Like an English lady at tea, hand on her cane as she leans over for a sugar cube. You take a polite bite of lemon rind, savoring. Ah, you say, last year's mire, it was a good year. Damn you rats for polluting my lemon tree, strewing your hantavirus pellets carelessly, leaving trails of disgust and disease. I pay the water bills, fertilize monthly, prune, pamper, swoon over the sweet scent. My arms show pruning scratches from citrus thorns. And you ultimate freeloaders, rogues, mooch, steal, and vandalize. I am defiled, invaded, and defenseless against your nighttime raids. My teeth grind and my fists clench. Ultimate insult, a cellar incursion and occupation. My eyes fill with tears to see my daughter's boxed yet beloved stuffed animals massacred, mutilated, urine-soaked. Rats have stolen sweet reminiscences of my baby's smiles, talcum powder, and nighttime lullabies. Now I must trash the dead pink bunnies, eyeless kittens, and gnawed turtles. If only the stuffed animal dragons, wolves, panthers, and orcas could fight back. They would make quick snacks of you all. Those careful holes knobbled in cardboard boxes are entry doors to your warm nests. You are smart, curious, and playful, like my daughter. My jasmine vines on the stairs are a jungle gym for your babies. No fruit, just fun. I know you by your calling cards. An unpleasant part of our urban creature family, you disappear and return like a bad penny when the weather turns and the fruit ripens. scrabbling, slinking your way inside if I leave the garage door open by mistake, or a gap anywhere as small as a quarter. I startle awake as air vents and walls creak, imagining paws and tails, fearing the worst. I admit I must honor and thank your cousins in laboratories who have saved human lives, often at the cost of their own, after being tortured, Frankensteined, cloned, and infected. My niece kept 2 pet rats, cute when clean, coats like tiny Dalmatians, scented of pine shavings. They perched on my shoulder, whiskers tickling my ear. I'll set that against your account, but you still owe us for the Black Death.
But one more.
I'm going to, if I can find it, read one of my father poems. Thank you, Kevin, for yours. It's called Benediction. And I also want to, before I end with my last poem, I want to thank Diane Frank, who's here somewhere, who is the editor of Blue Light Press, who published 2 of my 3 books, and is been a excellent teacher, continues to be an excellent teacher of many of us who are poets in this community. So I just want to thank you too. Benediction. Today the sky is threaded in folds of gray raw silk. Luminous catches of sun gleam in its cloth. Not light and gauzy or stretched smooth and matte, although I have seen such fabric skies. One winter morning, my father and I drove to school together. Peering through the car's front windshield at the growing storm clouds, he said, "Do you know what I will miss the most when I die?" He was not thinking about the impact of that vision on a doting 12-year-old daughter. "Not seeing the sky and clouds," he whispered. Or maybe he said that when I was in 2nd grade, our necks craned back to scan a mackerel-scaled sky, cirrus streams of mare's tails caught in frozen winds of the troposphere. Thank you.
Well, well, well. This is our last poet of the evening, Angie Minkin. Name sounds familiar. Angie Minkin is an award-winning San Francisco-based poet whose work has been published in Birdie Magazine, Concho River Review, El Portal, Literary Journal, Lips Poetry Magazine, Loch Raven Review, The MacGuffin, Rattle, and elsewhere. Impressive. She's a co-author of Dreams and Blessings, 6 visionary poets, and her work has been included in Fog and Light, San Francisco Through the Eyes of the Poets Who Live Here, and Pandemic Puzzle Poems, all published by Blue Light Press. Her chapbook, Balm for the Living, has just been published by Finishing Line Press. Angie loves to take dance classes at Rhythm and Motion, practices yoga, and stands on her head for inspiration. Go get it, Angie.
Aw, thanks, sweetheart. I'm so happy to be here, to see so many friends and family, and My son and daughter are here. My daughter surprised me, flying in from Portland. I knew my son was going to be here. He extended a business trip, but they're both making me cry. So I'm going to try to get through this without crying. But I also want to acknowledge Diane Frank, who actually was the first teacher that I took a poetry class from, and that's where I met Heather and Robin. And Kathleen McClung is also here. I think she's sitting right behind Dan. She's also an amazing poetry teacher, and both of these women are incredible mentors. And as Heather said, they really believe in community, and as we all do, and that's what it's all about. I also want to acknowledge Beau Soleil, who is an amazing poet in his own right and lives not far from me in the Excelsior. He has a new book of poems out about, I think it's called 20 Poems about George Floyd.
It's the killing of George.
The killing of George Floyd. Thank you. And I know Eric has it here. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to read, I think, 6 or 7 poems from my chapbook. And the first poem is the first poem in the book. It's called Feathers Floating. Like my mother and grandmother, plucky daughters of poor chicken farmers, I stand at the sink, rinsing the cold, naked bird. Grandmother extracted plumes, one by one. Mother singed tiny, errant pin feathers, generations of feathers floating free. My hands echo their deft motions, slicing carrots and garlic, chopping celery. I brown onions, skim off impurities. In the dented soup pot, I conjure spells to break high fevers, soothe despair, transform the pale neck, liver, marrow, heart, and bones. I can't resurrect the dead, but with each golden drop, I seek balm for the living. Thank you. This next poem is called 50 Words, and I was inspired by some amazing work done by scientists at UCSF who found a way to help a man who hadn't been able to talk for years and years after a terrible accident. So I think the poem tells the story. It's dedicated to the patient who was only known by Pancho. 50 words for Pancho. Imagine 50 words to describe your world, to define yourself, your heart. Imagine your thoughts trapped like thousands of blue jays, caught in a too small cage. Wings battering iron bars. Imagine no movement, decades of stillness. You are inside this body, this corset of bones and muscles, slack, useless. You move your head and neck in residual ticks, hunt and peck slowly. It hurts you, but you persevere. You type and you learn English, you learn French, you graduate from high school. All this after your accident at age 20. All this after your devastating stroke. All this after you can no longer move. Imagine brilliant doctors who implant a sensor in your brain, and those 128 electrodes pick up forgotten movements of your vocal cords, your larynx, your throat. Imagine a cable like a new umbilical cord, linking your brain to the computer that starts writing words, your words. The algorithm learns as you do, and suddenly you have 50 words of speech racing from your brainwaves to the screen. What words do you need? Hunger, thirst, hurt, good, bad, love, soul, heart, hug me, kiss me, family, perseverance, hope, tell me you love me, miracles. Thank you. So this next poem is for my neighbor Evelyn, who also lives in the Excelsior. She lives on Persia. I don't know, Bo, you might know her. Evelyn gets around. She's 94 now, and she is a pistol. Evelyn Unbending. I find myself hailing my neighbor as she trudges past my house. Like the coast oaks lining our path, Evelyn is unbending, her walker a prop to hold dog treats, windbreaker, Cubs hat. Small ghosts trail us. Maggie, her devoted Jack Russell, long gone. Cricket, the coddled black and white mutt who died in April. I try to stroke Evelyn's arm. She shakes her head, eyes too bright behind thick lenses. She tends our pets, waters our plants, knows everyone within a mile of her little cottage. School kids adore her front yard, decked out for holidays. Gold and orange leaves, tiny Santas and elves, red and blue paper flowers, and always pictures of small female dogs. No one really knows Evelyn's story. At least I don't. My pace slows to match hers as we walk up the hill to McLaren Park. Evelyn's voice softens as trees blur and juncos flit overhead. Did I ever tell you about the blue heron? Asked Evelyn. That bird stalked gophers with Cricket, and when Cricket died, damned if that heron didn't find me. She looked me straight in the eye, then flew off. Evelyn hands me a tissue, elbows tensed, almost barbed. We retrace our steps in this origami life. Fold, open, rise in lines of solitude that sometimes cross. Look up, says Evelyn. Thank you. I wasn't going to read this poem, but since my daughter is here, and I know she loves this poem, this is for you, Allie. Repeated observations of starlight for Leo. 40 light years away, 7 rocky worlds transit across a low-mass star, leaving clues. Starlight dims, dips, as exoplanets orbit. Here on Earth, we observe, precisely measure masses of heavenly bodies, consider elements, water, consider carbon, oxygen, potential for life, potency of other beings. We consider the inner body, mystery of unknown masses, few clues, body, leaving us bereft. We fix our sights on the night sky, seeking brightness. 40 light years away, do you orbit? Does starlight dip when you arrive? Thanks. So, as Heather mentioned, Heather and Robin, Holly, and another fabulous poet named Catherine and I are all in this wonderful writing group together, and we met at Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, which is, for older adults to keep on trucking with lifelong learning. So this poem is about aging, hopefully well and wisely, and it's an abecedarian, which means that it's 26 lines. Every line starts with a letter of the alphabet. Unfinished notes on aging. Acid pools in the belly, bile in the liver, and these bodies, some bodies, are these really our bodies? Curdle slowly as we age, running creakily down, but not out. Denial, not just a river, and every little part seems to crumble. Hey, we're fighting to stay fit, pretty good at playing the long game of reinvention. It's so seductive and holds such allure for our third eyes, our inner children, and all that woo-woo jazz. Yes, we believe in chakras, energy fields, kismet in a way, in healing light and love for sure, at least for the masses. Mothering the hungry might work and might not be the worst idea. There are such oceans of need on crazy Tenderloin streets. Pity, is that what we feel? Or perhaps a quickening sense of there, but for the grace, etc. Redemption is what we pray for, if we pray somehow for someone. We've been protesting for all time, it seems. The world worsens despite our actions. Underwater now, many of us, underground too. We visit our own internal demons, wondering why we continue to struggle. We reach for Xanax at night. Doesn't help. We meditate and practice yoga at first light. Try hard to stay supple. Kick ass in Zumba. And so we hope to keep on keeping on. So I have two more poems to read, and this poem is for my son, Jake, and it was just published in a really wonderful poetry journal called Lips, so I'm really thrilled. For my son on his 39th birthday. At 3:16 a.m. exactly, my mind swims with the cleaving, the feeding, the cradling, the swaddling, the toothless grins. You, duck feeder, deep hole digger, sword-carrying monster stalker, Nintendo master, red-eyed rave-going survivor, thank God, calculus whiz, home run smasher, swimmer with green turtles. You always found your way, except that burning day at Baker Beach when you vanished in a maze of kids and dogs, when I let go of your hand for 1 second to wipe your baby sister's nose, and for a moment I froze, laser focused on the channel leading to the sea. Deep enough to drown a 6-year-old? Frantic, zigging, zagging, and there you were, in your favorite chartreuse shirt, clutching a stranger's hand. Our tears streaming together, a 5-minute, 3-act drama. I swung you in my arms, too big to cradle, but feather light as I carried you and your sister to safety over the hot sand. Sorry, I knew I was going to lose it at that one. And before I close, I also want to acknowledge Janet Economy, who is here and who painted this beautiful calla lily that she graciously allowed me to use for the cover of my book. Thank you, Janet. And so this poem, one of my favorites, is for my darling husband. Old lovers in an older house. We've been lovers for 40 years. We still dance slow. Life moves so fast. We strolled with gleeful babies who giggled when we raced. We ran with kids on bikes as they chanted the mantra you taught them. I know how to ride a bike. I know how to ride a bike. We white-knuckled the San Francisco hills with new drivers and bought many new clutches. So much life lived in the walls of this little salt box house, 100 years old and showing its age. Earthquake cracks, shreds of ancient paisley wallpaper. We burned white sage in my mother's abalone shell, smudged corners and shadows to purify the space and dispel drugged ghosts. We splashed sun on the walls upstairs and warm green in the kitchen to bring the trees inside. Our kids have never known another home. We're aging fast now. Those steep steps stare us down. Is that the shadow of a pale horse? You beat the drums. I'll burn more sage. Thanks, everyone. Can we get all the poets up here? Come on, poets. Come on, everyone. Robin, Kevin. I just really want to thank you all for joining me. What a great evening. And how about a round of applause for please do take some time to look at the books, buy books from Eric. We're happy to sign. There's wine, there's goodies, so please enjoy and thank you so much for coming.
No, same. I was like, I know that poem. I should have brought my copies of
All right. Thank you all for coming out. The bar is open. Unfortunately, it's down around the corner at Glen Park Station. If you go too far, you'll get on BART by mistake. So stop at the bar. And books are for sale if you can get to the register. Good luck with that. They're all up here. You got to work your way up to them. We might take some to that end. Thank you all so very much. Yeah, that was wonderful. Sort of put this back here so it causes less trouble. Oh, careful. I just don't want
You are.
I was like, wait a second, this is supposed to be.
Is there a video version? That would be so awesome.
Not yet, but there's gonna be. I love video poetry.